Having briefly examined React Redux form, let's move on to our exercise where we will make use of React Redux form to update the form that we created in the contact component in our React application. To get started on this exercise, go to your project folder in the terminal or command window and then install React Redux form by typing yarn add React Redux form at 1.16.8. Once React Redux form is installed, then let's go ahead and update the form in the contact component. Going to the contact component, within the contact component, we were earlier importing the form group input from React Strap. I'm going to remove all these and also form feedback from React Strap. We'll only use label from React Strap, and we'll now import control local form and errors from React Redux form. And we will use these to update our form. Now that you have imported these from our form, we will no longer need the state to be explicitly stored in our application, because the state will become managed by React Redux form on our behalf. And also, we don't need the handle input change anymore, because that is also going to be managed automatically by React Redux form on our behalf. So let's remove that from our application. And then also the handle blur is not needed, because that will also be taken care of by React Redux form on our behalf. So you see that all these are no longer required. The handle submit will be retained, but we will update it a little bit later. And the validate also is not required, because that would also be done by React Redux form on our behalf. And you don't need to call the validate here. So you see that much of the work is brought in by React Redux form on our behalf. Now, to update our form to use React Redux form, let's go to our form and then update this as local form. And when we submit it, in the on submit, we will implement this as a arrow function here, values, and then we'll say this handle submit values. So this values will be passed to your handle submit automatically by the application here. And while we are at it, let's go down to the bottom here and then update this to local form here. Now, within each of these, the form group, we will turn this into row. Class name is form group, because we are no longer importing the form group from React Strap, and instead we will make use of the row and column classes here. So every form group that we have, we're going to replace that with the row with the form group class applied to it. And this is nothing but the form group class that Bootstrap supports. And then so this would be, the form group would be changed to row here. And so every form group that we have here, I will update it to row. So within your form, all the form groups are updated to row. and the labels themselves be as such. We won't be using the form feedback anymore, so remove all the form feedbacks from these. Instead, in the next exercise, we'll come back to replace this by what is supported by React Redux forms. So we'll remove all those. And the inputs themselves will be changed to control text. So this will become control text, and we no longer need the type text. And we'll say model is dot first name, and the ID would be ID, and the name we can retain as such, and the placeholder. And for this, we will apply the class name as form control, so that we'll apply the bootstraps styling for this control here. Similarly, you make similar changes to the remaining input types here. So this will also change to control text with the model as dot last name, and also apply the class name as form control. Similarly, this one will become control text, and the model is dot tell num, and class name as form control. Now, also I realized that for each of these, we need to remove this value, valid, invalid, and the on change part, because those are no longer needed. They will be automatically handled by React Redux form. So let's remove all these from each of these. And the next one is, of course, the email. So here, this would also be control text, and model is dot email, and remove these, and then add the class name as form control. And then the next one, for this particular item where we have the checkbox, we will update this as, instead of form check here, we will change this to div class name form check, and the div, and this one we will change that to control checkbox, and the model is dot agree, and we'll apply a class name as form check input, and remove that part. Then coming down to the next one, this we would change this to control select, and the model is dot contact type, and also we'll apply the class name as form control. Change this to control select. Then coming down to the next one, we will change this to control text area, and the model for this is dot message, and the rows remain as 12, and we'll change this to class name form control, and the last one would be as such, submit and primary feedback and so on. Let's save the changes. Now while we are at it, we need to update this handle submit. This handle submit now will receive values, as we saw where we implemented it. So it will receive values. And so on the console, because we no longer have the state here, we'll be printing out the values from the handle submit. And also remove this event prevent default, because this is no longer needed. And let's save the changes and go and take a look at our form. Going to our application in the browser, let's go to the contact page. And in the contact page, you will see the form rendered just like before. Let's fill in some details and then submit the form here. Let me make some changes and then submit the form. And then you would immediately notice that the alert pops up showing all the details as we filled in. So you see that the first name, last name, tel num, and so on. So by specifying the model with the specific names that we have shown there, you notice how the state information is automatically being reflected into the form. So when you submit, the handle submit automatically shows the form information. So with this, we have seen how we can use the local form support from React Redux form to update our form to show the information as seen here. This is a good time for you to do a git commit with the message React Redux form.